Welcome to the show, everybody. We got a show for you. I'm Donald W. Moore, and I'm going to be cleaning some audio up this week.
Yes, you will be.
You're probably going to have to speak up. The camera is very far away. We're doing camera audio.
That's very, very true.
Yeah. So welcome to the show. I believe this is episode 30.
Is it really?
I think it's 30.
Jeez.
I've been slacking. I've been taking some time off.
Yeah.
I've been making records. It's really hard to continue to do this show while making records. So as I get busy, it's become apparent that the format of the show is going to have to change a little bit, but we'll figure it out. So this week there's not going to be a section 2, the Carissa Explains It All, except there will be. We're going to talk about Carissa Explains It All and how we can do that section a little better.
Okay.
Section 3, we're going to talk about the myth of crowdsourcing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a myth. It's a myth. You'll notice I'm not wearing my disco hoodie.
Or your sunglasses.
Or my sunglasses. I probably look like death. What time did my day start?
7 a.m.
And it's currently
10 to 11.
10 to 11.
At night.
Sorry, I'm falling asleep. So this show will probably be somewhat quick. I don't want to be doing this all night. I have to turn around and edit this tonight so you guys can see it tomorrow, or while you're watching now. Thank you for watching. If this is your first one, if somebody sent this to you, make sure to subscribe. The way I've been doing the show traditionally is we do the show on Sundays, full show. It's a long format.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody's got all the time for that, so then I break it out into the sections. But I haven't been breaking out each. Like, some sections are exclusive to the full show.
Yes.
And lately I just haven't been publishing new videos because we were doing the announcements, but nobody was watching those. I mean, like 4 people, but I think 3 of them were me cycling through my multiple accounts to click like. That's why there's already 3 likes if you're watching early. But welcome to the show. It's good to be back talking to everybody.
Yes.
So after we kind of have our conversation about what we're doing with your section, because we're doing, this was requested, I would have to look up the name. I should probably look up the name. This was requested that we show the DVD collection.
Yes.
So here we are in front of our DVD collection. This is definitely a group effort. This is not like the guitars.
Yeah, no,
I amassed my guitar collection, but we amassed this.
Yeah, we started this back in college.
And it's a mess.
And it kind of got out of hand.
Yeah, it got a little out of hand. There's about 2,500 DVDs. I don't think I'm going to go through every single one of them, but in our section 6, we'll go through that.
Okay.
Or whatever that is, right?
Yeah.
And I just need to find this video that we did. So we have hit 240 subscribers.
Woohoo!
You guys are awesome. Thank you for checking it out. It's really great of you guys. The long and short of it is I don't make much money at this at all. I know I've made. Sorry, I'm pulling up the last episode to see the comments here quick. Yorkshire Rose. God, I'm pretty sure I know Yorkshire Rose in person, but these YouTube names are hard. I'd be interested to see that DVD collection. So here we are, and we'll look at that in section 6. We're going to do our shout-outs in between. And then we'll do everybody gets a trophy, but my trophy's in the other room.
I need to go grab that.
Yeah, we'll do it when the time comes.
Okay. We can use that.
No, we're gonna go use the trophy. Mike
did give us a
Mike
very
Gregory
nice
gave
trophy.
us the trophy. It's a little New York Rangers Stanley Cup. We're very appreciative. Thank you, Mike. I know Mike watches the show. Mike posted a very funny video of his dog. I believe it was with a piece of cheese. And we were playing in the background. They were watching it on the TV. It was very
Nice.
Whenever you do these creative endeavors, right? My primary consideration is my audience, right? As big or small as they are. If I'm playing to a room of 6 people, and they really want to hear me do some wild out there stuff, happily. If I'm playing to a large room and they just want stuff they can ignore, happily, right? Just please compensate me, right? That's all I ask for stuff. But you guys are watching the video and it's great. This is, in another episode we'll do, we're kind of in the process of doing a larger run of Sounds in Between, so that's kind of a mess. We're not going to show that, but we'll do maybe we'll do an episode where we're actually making the discs. That might be fun.
Okay.
Because
Or that'll be the most boring thing ever.
No, because I'll sit here and chat up the audience while you do it. But, yeah, so welcome to the show. I'm just very tired.
Yes. Yes, you are.
My morning was 10 a.m. to noon. I was playing downtown with Joshua Thompson. A duo gig at a farmer's market.
Yes. And you brought me back no fruits or vegetables.
No, I didn't buy anything. I didn't make hardly any money. It was a lot less than I was led to believe, but I don't know. Maybe I wasn't playing so good, or who knows.
Maybe it just was not an appreciative crowd this morning.
There were a lot of people that, they just weren't throwing money in my tip jar. So.
It happens.
And there was no guarantee. So remember, if you see a musician with a tip jar, throw something in, because half the time we're playing for next to nothing. Like minimum wage, if that, on our guarantees. It's a lot of work. And buy the CDs. I just bought from Dave Rempus and Engelbrit. I saw them down at Cafe Creme, which is an excellent place in South Austin over off Old Wharf. And saw them play, and then I got a couple of their CDs, and I got Cedric's stuff on his label. I got his whole catalog. I'd been meaning to get it. Cafe Creme let us shoot Freeform Fridays.
Yes.
And those are still going up. And you should check them out. Because we now officially have 70 more subscribers here than we do the Jazz Destroyers. So please, check out the Jazz Destroyers. I'm really consistent about that upload. I do those in batches. So everybody gets very curious about, well, I'm usually gigging. Like, I tell them, yeah, come do Freeform Fridays. And they're like, but I'm usually gigging Fridays. I'm like, I know, so am I. We usually shoot them on, like, Sundays or, like, weeknights or holidays. Like, we tend to shoot a bunch of them in one shot. This last session we did with Danny Kerner, Damian Valenzuela, and Alex Salinas, we did 12 of them in, like, an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Moved really fast, and it's a really cool session. The format of that show is changing. Originally I was doing multicam and editing them kind of like a music video, a lot of hard cuts. And now I'm just doing split screen, let you guys see everything. It's so hard to decide what to show you that I'm just going to show you everything.
Okay.
And yeah, let's move on. Let's talk about your section.
My section.
So what was your section originally?
Well, if in the very beginning, my section was...
In the beginning,
my section was like 5 different news items or...
Called Do You Give a Bleep?
Yes.
And we got some search out of that.
Did you?
That was performing better than Carissa Explains It All.
Okay.
The problem with the news stuff is you kind of have to get it up quick. 5 was probably too many.
Yeah, and some weeks there just wasn't any.
And it was during the election cycle, so it was really hard to keep politics. I try to keep politics out of this. Just to be honest with the audience, I'm basically nearly, almost, kinda communist.
No, you're not.
When it comes
you
to...
are so far from communist sometimes. It's absolutely amazing.
When it comes to the bare necessities of life, I am absolutely communist. I think everybody should have a roof over their head, food on their plate, electricity, access to internet, education, healthcare, and clean water. Mm-hmm. Those are my 7, right? Those are the things that I think we should just collectivize and share. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to luxuries, movies, music, watches, those sorts of things, I'm very capitalist. I think capitalism's the greatest thing since sliced bread when it comes to, like, iPhones. Right? The iPhone's competing with the Android, so then they keep releasing new features and they keep getting better and better until they turn into a cartel. But ultimately, the idea of the competition, I get it. I'm totally on board, except for things like healthcare, education. I'm not on board with that. Those are basic necessities of life. Everybody should have access to those things, regardless of their ability to pay. But then when it comes to the extras, yeah, absolutely. My whole idea is do a universal basic income. Mm-hmm. But the universal basic income has to be high enough where you can afford to relocate that month. That's the only way it works. Because if you're living in San Francisco, mm-hmm. and the universal basic income gives you $2,000, anybody watching in what is that called, the Bay Area?
Yes.
They'll tell you $2,000, you can't live on $2,000 up there. It's not possible. Rent's too high. Mm-hmm. But if you give everybody enough money every month where they could pack up and move to North Dakota, where rent is very low, great.
Yes, but would that necessarily be enough money to move out of North Dakota?
Sure. It's got to be enough to relocate. You should be able to move. That's the idea. Yeah. So I figure it's about $2,000 a month, but who knows? Like, I'm nowhere near a position to even begin to implement this. Mm-hmm. If I ever wind up in Congress, I would happily propose this and submit the bill. Mm-hmm. But yeah, my idea is public option for college, public universal health care. Mm-hmm. I like Germany's system where everybody gets health care and then you can buy amenities, like a private hospital room. And instead of seeing the oncologist, you see the head of oncology. And they sell private insurance for that. So there's room for the wealthy to get their little extras that make them feel special, and then everybody else gets a good baseline of care. And that's what I want. I want everybody to be able to have an even playing field so that then we can go compete. Mm-hmm. Because if we had the universal income that I'm talking about, there's no need for minimum wage. So that's why I think libertarians should get on board with this idea.
Okay.
All right, enough with the politics.
What does that have to do with my segment?
I'm just on a rant. But, because this is a meta segment, I don't think this is going to generate any search, so I'm just giving the audience some background. So your segment, we started with this, and this is why we don't go into politics on this show, because I will just go off.
Yeah, and then get you and Steven in a room together.
And it just turns into that show. And honestly, there's really good guys to listen to gripe about politics, but ultimately, I find political news boring. It's a lot of gossip, but it's like gossip with implications. Mm-hmm. Like, who's sleeping with who in Hollywood is a lot different than this person's trying to privatize our education system. So, but ultimately it's covered in very much the same gossipy way. Right. We should focus on issues. But with your section, so we started with that, mm-hmm. and we found that we were kind of flooding everybody's
Well, you insisted on breaking it up into 5 different videos
Yeah.
rather than keeping it all one video.
But that was all for search and for the titling and things. It was to optimize for YouTube. But I was flooding everybody's subscription feeds.
Yes. Which
And I was using the same
rather upset
thumbnail.
when I found out about that. So.
Well, because I'd pump them out like 30 minutes apart. It's like, yep, now here's something new to watch. But yeah, so that we were getting some search from that, but not a lot of new subscribers.
Yeah.
So that wasn't really working out. So we started doing Carissa Explains It All.
Yes.
It's basically you explaining random stuff.
Random stuff that either you suggested or I think there were a couple that the audience suggested.
And we want to hear it. If you want something explained. Oh, yeah. We did confirmation bias, negativity bias, physics stuff.
Lots of physics stuff. I think I started with like one physics thing, and then you asked a question, and you're like, "Hey, can you explain this next week?" And it's like, "Okay."
Yep.
So.
And then we did
snowballed.
Yeah, and we did an episode on capacitors.
And there were some pop culture ones in there.
There were some those didn't generate much search.
But they were fun to do. So.
They're fun to do. We're just trying to find a format like. The search stuff doesn't matter if you guys will share this video to somebody, right?
Yeah.
Show somebody what we're doing. Help us. We have to grow this audience somehow, and it's not for me. It's really not. It's for the Get Off My Lawn Records family.
Okay.
That's all the artists on Get Off My Lawn Records.
Yes.
And we do a unique business model I've talked about in previous episodes. But I'll actually I'm kind of open sourcing this business model because anybody in my audience can do exactly what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to step on each other's toes because I can't work with everybody.
Right.
Right? It's not that I'm leaving scraps for you. It's just there's so much good music out there. We're all just kind of working with who we can work with and making the best records we can. And I'm really lucky because I've gotten to make some pretty spectacular records. But with your segment, part of the challenge is we've been doing keynote and generally showing the slides and then putting ourselves in the corner, like very small. Mm-hmm. I don't like it. It's not visually compelling. And so then why even have the keynote, right? So I think we're going to try something different. Here's what I'm proposing. What's our next topic?
The next topic is vaccines.
Get your damn kids vaccinated. What week are we on?
What do you mean?
Well...
Oh, we are about to start week 22.
Right. And we will be vaccinating, so...
We will be vaccinating.
So full disclosure, that's where we stand.
Yeah.
And I stand on, if your kid is not vaccinated, I don't want him playing with my kid. Because measles spreads. Your kid gets measles, and my kid might get measles, because vaccinations don't, you're going to go into it, but it doesn't work for everybody, and the only way you find out that it didn't work is you catch it. So that's why everybody has to get it, so we all get our herd immunity, so it keeps it locked down. For the 15% of people that it won't work, they're protected because everybody else is protected.
All right, and I do go into that.
We're going to go into great detail, so we're going to do that. So the way I think we're going to do this is we're going to put you in front of a wall.
Okay.
Probably downstairs. I'll put you in front of the projector, and we'll do it We'll do backwards, and I think I will just let you talk, which traditionally is not how that goes.
No, not at all.
But how many parts is that going to be? Three?
That's going to be at least 3. It might be 4.
Okay.
There's a lot of diseases out there that we have vaccinations for. So.
Yeah. For example, how many children died of chickenpox before that vaccine kicked in? I think it was about 5,000 a year would die of chickenpox.
It was a lot. It was a lot.
And everybody forgets this.
And there's a lot of those diseases that have very, very high mortality rates.
Extremely high. So the reason we all get vaccinated ultimately is for the people who can't. If your kid can't get vaccinated for valid medical reasons, that's why everybody around them has to be vaccinated.
We'll
talk about it.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it. And believe me, if you want to leave me every anti-vax argument in the comments, go for it. And we'll address every single one of them.
Absolutely.
If you have any concerns about vaccinations, if you have any questions about it, you've been doing the research, you have a science background.
Yep.
I believe you're about to finish a degree in chemistry.
Yep. Just about.
So you know how to read a study.
Mm-hmm.
You understand what a peer-reviewed study is. The one study that linked vaccines to autism was not even peer-reviewed, I don't believe. How'd they get that published? I know the journal retracted it.
The journal retracted it. Most of the scientists attached to it
Were discredited. They had financial ties to that lawyer.
No, they weren't all discredited. A lot of them basically disputed the study, saying, yeah, those weren't actually our findings. And the main author of that study was discredited and had his medical license revoked, and yet is still out there
spreading this nonsense.
He's still out there speaking to groups as an anti-vaxxer.
And if my kid catches something that is treatable or preventable by vaccination, and a bunch of people, I will be going after every single one of them for spreading that nonsense. I don't want to hear. It's just I've seen footage of an infant with pertussis, whooping cough.
Yes.
Unable to breathe.
And it's particularly nasty in infants just because of the way the disease works.
And you can't vaccinate an infant, so everybody around the infant's got to be vaccinated. That's the important part. So we're going to talk about that. I'm going to put a little more effort into the production of these.
Okay.
We're going to do them as batches. So your pregnancy level will change drastically within an episode, because if I break this up into 4 parts, either that will be the whole show, which maybe, because I got a lot of other stuff to do.
Yeah.
But we're going to start doing Carissa Explains It All in batches. So you're going to have to start prepping 3 or 4 at a time.
Do like a month's worth at a time.
Yeah, but you're going to get yourself 6 months out ahead.
Okay.
That's the trick with this stuff.
Okay.
This is where we're having a hard time doing this podcast. Luckily, if this works out well, we'll start live streaming it whenever we have Sunday at 2 p.m. available.
Okay.
My problem is I'm just not available on Sundays at 2 p.m. right now.
Yeah,
I'm making records, which is the whole point of a record label. So we're doing that, and it's going to be fun. Leave a comment as to other ways you think we can improve this show in terms of format or whatever. What would you like to see? Keep in mind, I'm going to put a little time into yours because I love you and you're my wife, and that's the time I set aside for you. So I'm willing to put some more work into it, but the rest of this show I try to keep as minimal as possible, because it's why we don't even have microphones up today. We're just doing this into the camera.
Yeah. So hopefully you can hear me.
I'm tired. Oh, I'll make them hear you.
Okay.
I got all the tools.
Of course you do.
But I probably look like I haven't slept in a couple days, because I naturally have dark circles under my eyes, and I'm tired.
Yeah.
So, all right, so that's what's going on with Carissa Explains It All, and let's move on. What's next? Section 3,
yes.
The crowdsourcing myth.
Crowdsourcing, yes.
I just had this conversation, actually, with Millicent. We just today, we recorded the bulk of the foundation of Millicent Hughes' album. It's great. She's kind of in that vein. She's always asking me, like, who do I sound like? I'm like, Tori Amos, Fiona Apple, but not dark. Sarah McLachlan, but not cheesy. But, you know, female singer, piano player. And we're gonna overdub a band underneath this.
Okay.
I'll probably play bass. And I'm looking at my upright behind the camera. So, the problem with crowdsourcing, if you have let's say 100 people that want to help,
Mm-hmm.
crowdsourcing is really only works for existing fans.
Yeah.
You don't pick up new fans trying to crowdsource. It's like
No.
it's like trying to start a Patreon when you got 4 people that, I mean, hey, if 4 people want to give me $1 every month, I will set up something. You can set that up. I will figure out how to set that up. If a bunch of people want to throw $1 at me every month, I figure if everybody wants to shove $5 at me a month, I'm getting ready to set up subscriptions on Bandcamp.
Okay.
Because I don't know, we got to generate some revenue for these artists, and we gotta figure out how to increase sales across the board.
Right.
So, but with crowdsourcing, the idea is simply, you don't have to work with a record label. You can just raise the money yourself and hire a studio and hire a mixer, hire a mastering engineer, and you can just build it all into the budget. The problem is raising the funds.
Right.
And she was giving me an example of a singer who was trying to do this crowdsourcing thing, trying to raise $6,000.
Okay. Anybody ever heard of this singer before?
I mean, some, but not famous. A small following, right?
Okay.
Probably about, let's assume the Jazz Destroyer size following.
Okay.
A couple hundred people, right? Well, to raise $6,000, you need 600 people to give you $10.
Uh-huh.
Or you need 300 people to give you $20.
Uh-huh.
Or you need 150 people to give you $40.
Yes.
Or 75 people to give you $80. Or 60 people to give you $100. Problem is, if you got a fan base of like 200 people, good luck even getting them to all kick in $10.
Yeah.
Crowdsourcing is a wonderful, wonderful idea. Radiohead, Trent Reznor, Jomo and the Possum Posse crowdsourced their first couple albums. We're doing the live one, but their studio stuff was all crowdsourced. All have significant fan bases.
Yes.
Hundreds of people ready to just going, shut up and take my money.
Mm-hmm.
That's when you crowdsource. And so I was talking to Millicent, and she said, why would I want to work with Scummy major label? I said, because they'll make you famous. That's the whole point. They will throw so many marketing dollars behind you that you will, if you think of your fan base as a mushroom, right? Mm-hmm. The stem of the mushroom is your true fans. Mm-hmm. In order to hit that 1,000 true fans that we hear so much about, the head of the mushroom is going to be much, much larger. You need hundreds of thousands of people to know about you in order to find those 1,000 that are really into it.
Okay.
So crowdsourcing is wonderful if you already have that.
Sure.
Because you don't need to spend $1 million to make a record. You can do it very competently for $6,000, and that's probably paying a producer, a known producer, a fee. Mm-hmm. I hear $6,000 to $8,000 a lot for these kinds of records for named producers. And hey, I would love to make a few grand every record. That would be nice.
Sure.
Be great. But I don't think if you're doing it with a named producer, it kind of makes sense because they will have a significant fan base that are ready to buy anything they make. And if they're actually able to leverage that and raise the funds for you, go for it, right? But if you're trying to raise $6,000 out of nowhere, find somebody with a recording rig who will do it for a couple $100. There are plenty of competent people out there. More people graduate audio school than lawyers, I think, at this point. Everybody's got a buddy with a recording rig.
Sure.
The important thing, if you're doing the buddy thing, is be ready.
Yeah. Don't waste their time.
You can't go in going, well, I don't know what I'm going to make a bunch of mistakes. Yeah, you're going to make a bunch of mistakes. You got to be able to play it all the way through, and you got to be able to play it well enough where you're happy with it. Mm-hmm. And then you work your way backwards from there for the rest of it. But you have to be able to do a good continuous take. That's the foundation. And there's probably significant prep work and all these things that have to be done. But the point is, don't try crowdsourcing unless you're already pretty well known.
Yeah.
Then crowdsourcing is that is how to raise the capital needed. Otherwise, you need somebody else's capital. In our case, I don't charge for the recording.
Right.
I don't even recoup the recording.
Right.
I recoup my cassettes at $2 a piece, but that's it. I just spent 4 or 5 hours today recording. I'm taking a cut. Hopefully it's successful, and I make my money back. But I'm investing my capital in the fact that I already have the rig and I have the expertise and I can just do it.
Yeah.
If you don't have somebody who can do that, then you need somebody with deep enough pockets that can fund that.
Right.
And if you can find 50 people to give you $100, that's $5,000. You can do it. But you need to then target people who can give you $100 to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't know anything about finding that audience. They're around. People do it. But you're probably, if you're able to do that, you're probably already doing it.
Right. I mean,
unless you hang out with rich people. Right? If you hang out with wealthy people, people that can throw $100 at something that may or may not even come out.
yeah, there's some really rich people that really like the idea of basically having their name on an album as having funded it,
And not even rich, just well off.
Sure.
People who have met their sufficient needs and then have money to spare.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew a guy who did that one time. He produced a record in that he paid for the studio time and sent the band down there to do it. And then he got producer, and he was very proud of it, and he showed me a copy. I produced a record, and you go. It was great. I was really proud of him. He was really... I produced a film, but I got into the trenches.
You did.
I learned everything that I needed to know how to be a film. I basically figured out how to become a filmmaker.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of making my own script, I made somebody else's script.
Right.
And let him make the casting decisions. God, I'm tired.
I'm glad you said that, because otherwise it sounded like you regretted his
No, I
decisions.
don't. I don't. There's a couple decisions I probably would have done differently, but it is what it is, right? We made the we made the film.
Uh-huh.
We made a soundtrack for the film, which I need to just get that all put together for
Yes.
CDs.
At some point here, yes.
I really am. This is nuts. This is hard. So
Well, then let's get through it then.
Yeah. So don't think of crowdfunding as your ticket. Your ticket is probably going out, playing the gigs,
Uh-huh.
and then taking down email addresses and saying, hey, I'm trying to put a record together. If you can throw $10 in the tip jar, write your email address on a piece of paper, throw it in there with it, and I will send you an update. I will send it, and then be ready to give away copies to people who help fund it. And something like that will help offset it, but really you're going to have to make a record, you have to know how to keep your costs low, or you need to know how to acquire capital.
Mm-hmm.
Crowdfunding is not your solution.
Yeah. No, not at all.
If you're already famous, why are you watching my videos? Get in contact, let's make a record if you're already famous. Could use, it is nice working with people that will have some guaranteed sales, but
yeah,
that's fine. All right. So if you're trying to make a project and you need help, leave a comment, right? Mm-hmm. Let me know what help you need. As long as I have some time, I'm happy to consult with people, try to walk you through the steps. Because producing is really just about breaking everything down to small, bite-sized pieces that you can achieve.
Yes.
And then it all comes together and becomes a project. All right, let's move on. What's next?
Section 4.
Shout-outs, right? Shout-outs now. We used to do announcements.
But now it's all shout-outs.
It's all just shout-outs, right? Because we just work really hard at it. The first shout-out I want to do is... the tape is not here conveniently. This is where this tape lives. Paul Serrato joined us on Freeform Fridays.
Yes.
I intended to have him on the podcast but we were just so busy making records that weekend that we didn't get a chance to have him on the show. And he doesn't Skype or anything, so it's very hard to get him on the show.
Mm-hmm.
But we cut some stuff with Paul. That's going to be coming out pretty soon. We're figuring out some of those early recordings that we're going to use on the project.
Okay.
But Paul sent me his first record. Paul released this himself. And this was 1991, I think. I don't see a copyright date on this. And I don't want to crack it open.
Let me see.
I will crack it open when it's time to listen to it. I've got it on CD somewhere, I think. But anyway, Paul sent me his first tape and first record that he cut on tape, and I like tapes, so I'm very excited. That's one of my favorites. So that's my first shout out. My second shout out is to another band that I've got tapes. Here we go. He sent me these promos. Yeah, About Nexus 1991. This is so cool. This is his original press package. So when I bought my two tape deck, my double deck that I use to do all my rewinding, and I do duplication with it too, but I use it to rewind so I can rewind things while I record the next tape. The guy I bought it from, he was in an electronic band called Flatliner, and he gave me his tape that was released on some label, I think Holodeck, or maybe Holodeck's the name of this album. I can't remember if it was Jesse or Adam that I had met, but I'll figure it out and I'll get in touch. This tape is amazing. It's really good. So Flatliner, check it out. I think it's called Holodeck. Nope, it's called Black Medicine. I think Holodeck's the label. So, yeah, HD025. Yeah, that's the label.
Mm-hmm.
So good on you guys for making tapes. It's a pink tape. It sounds great. So that's my first two shout-outs. What are your first two?
Well, I'd like to give a shout out to Millicent for
she was great today.
Being a trooper and
real trooper. She helped me flip that Rhodes.
Yeah, I was rather impressed by that because that thing is heavy.
Huge shout out to Charlie.
Yes.
Charlie is lending me. Charlie's with Brazilian Space Program. We're trying to work out the logistics of cutting a record with them too. Okay. But Charlie's lending me his 1978 Rhodes Mark I, and it's downstairs. And it sounds so good.
Yes.
But I've been fighting cracklies all day. It's like I'm getting cracklies upstairs, I'm getting cracklies downstairs. I'm just constantly fighting cracklies. But it's not really his keyboard that's doing it. It's all the other stuff. Mm-hmm. But he was so cool. We had to drive all the way to South Alliston to pick it up. We're going to bring it back to him tomorrow. Maybe I'll take a picture of it or something for the Jazz Destroyers Instagram page. But he's letting Millicent cut part of her record with it, and it sounds so good.
Yeah.
God, it's just a nice sounding instrument. Nothing sounds like a Mark I Rhodes.
Yes.
Not even my beloved DX7. So yeah, shout out to Millicent. She was a trooper. She came out with me to Mozart's. Our gig got canceled, and
yeah.
I think I was frustrated enough for the two of us. She totally got it. She was like, I get it. But, you're never mad at any one person. You're just mad at a situation when you get double booked. Who else? You also made Millicent a whole batch of vegan chili.
I did. You should try it. It won't hurt you. I promise. It won't hurt you.
Keep going.
Okay.
Who else?
Shout out to Mindy at Elements Massage.
Oh, that was this week. You got a massage.
Yeah. So, yeah, shout out for that.
That help?
A little bit. It wasn't long enough. I think that was the problem.
Was that the... Never mind. We'll talk about it off.
Okay. Yeah. It just wasn't long enough, and I think it either didn't help quite enough, or just kind of inflamed things. So.
But Mindy tried so hard.
She did. And
A for the effort.
She did a really good job.
A for the effort.
And I did feel better leaving there.
Good.
Yeah.
It just, you get home to me and everything tenses back.
Yeah, pretty much. So you'll see me like moving around in the chair a lot. It's because I've got this one muscle that basically wraps around the side that keeps tensing up on me every time I sit for long periods. So, and we've been here for 40 minutes now. So, yeah.
Yeah. I should point out we got Regal Cat and Studio Cat both at our feet.
Yes.
Normally they like to be up in the lap, but this is kind of the room they hang out in.
It is.
Which is funny because this is our media library. But they're hanging out in here. They're on the floor. You can't see them.
But it's also centrally located. You know, we've got our bedroom. We've got
Yep.
studio. It's
all the action goes on.
So they hang out here and they can see everything that's going on.
Yep. All right. Who else?
Leah for helping me book the Elements massage.
Yeah, there you go.
So.
Thank you, Leah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
We should give a shout out to Liliana.
Yes.
Happy belated birthday.
Yes. Happy birthday.
And shout out to Joshua Thompson, who had me on his gig today, and I'm subbing in for him, but he and I go way back. We're good friends. We've been through thick and thin together. He is one of the few guys in Austin that makes a full-time living as a musician.
Yes.
He works really hard at it, too.
He really does.
His days look a lot like my day today. Every now and then I get an evening off. He does not. No. He gigs every night he possibly can.
Well, he almost has to.
Yep. So God, it's good for your play. Yeah. He's improved so much. Heads and tails. He got to play with Engelbert.
Nice.
That was a really good show. And nobody recorded it. Whoops. That's okay. That was one of those things that was probably better for the moment.
Okay.
It was really wild. I should shout out the couple of people I've cut off on the road recently. Totally cut somebody off on 290 coming home from Round Top. They blew their horn, flashed their lights. I probably shouldn't have taken it, but it was like that turn. Getting out from Round Top back onto 290 is so hard to time. Mm-hmm. Then I think this morning or yesterday I jumped out, headed south in front of somebody, and they had to slow down. They were not happy about that either. I was turning out in front of them a little closer than they were comfortable with. Okay, listen, we got stuff to do. So
spoken like a New Yorker.
Yeah, get out of my way. I got work. So shout out to you guys. Shout out to everybody who's putting up with obnoxious drivers. Most of the time, I'm a pretty polite driver. Mm-hmm. I tend to drive in the fast lane, but I don't tend to hold up traffic in the fast lane. If I'm holding up traffic, I move out of the way.
Yes.
Even if that means I have to slow down to the people on the right, but if you're coming up behind me, I'll just get out of your way. But every now and then we all have our bad days, and we got that negativity bias and the confirmation bias. If you deal with one bad driver every day, you assume everybody's a bad driver, blah, blah, blah. But shout out to all you guys for out there trying to drive well, not driving selfishly. Good on you. And finally, the shout out to the Get Off My Lawn Records family.
Yes.
The whole family. Jomo and the Possum Posse's live album. He sent me a thing that sounds pretty good. I think he's taking one more pass at the mix.
Okay.
And then I'll be getting the video stuff together. Shout out to Sounds in Between. They're out selling records. I'm about to put a big batch of records in their hand too. But I know they have a few, so if you see Sounds in Between in person, buy their record, please.
Yes.
They're rock stars in Turkey. They're crushing it in Turkey.
Apparently.
And yeah. Shout out to Steven. He's been working like a dog. That's why he hasn't been able to run cameras. He's about to go to Europe. He's about to take a night. The vacation will be good for him.
Yeah.
And shout out to my buddy Brian, who He helped me get a copy of the episode that I appear on Teen Mom. I believe it's season 6. Teen Mom OG season 6, episode 19. I will do that. I'm going to do some fair use stuff. We will actually show that, my footage.
Okay.
That I'm on.
All 6 seconds of it?
All 6 seconds. They didn't even use... They used my audio for like a little bit, but not the whole thing.
Okay.
It was a little frustrating. I gave them permission to use the live album, but they didn't. Yeah. Alright, let's move on. What's next?
Section 5.
Our DVD collection.
Our DVD collection.
So I've never hand counted it.
I wouldn't want to.
I've estimated it. I once did it by I counted up a shelf and did some math. It's somewhere around 2,500 DVDs. Down here, there's about 100 Nintendo games. I'm trying to sell them. I think the retro market is not doing so good. Or just nobody's gonna buy 100 Nintendo games. I'm probably have to piece it out.
Yeah, probably.
Or maybe I'll keep them. But let's go through it. So the very top, the way we organize this is television goes on the very top. And it's kind of messy and nothing's really in order because it's just one shelf, and that seems to be where we've added most to the collection after we got it organized.
Yeah.
The television stuff kept appearing. So that's where everything that television series, some of my favorites up there. We've got a lot of the original Star Trek. We've got the first couple seasons of Saturday Night Live.
We have the original Star Trek?
Looks like.
Where?
What are those 5? Right there. Just says Star Trek.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what those are.
I imagine they're not Voyager.
I'd have to stand up and look.
I believe I have the West Wing box set. I'm very proud of my West Wing box set. I love that thing. That was a gift. You got Fraggle Rock, the complete series.
Yeah. I think I got the complete series of Buffy.
Yes, you do. You have every season of Buffy. Clerks, the animated show, I think it ran for 2 episodes. But I've always had a lot of fun watching that because they tamed it so much. Some British Who's Line, Eon Flux. I really like Eon Flux.
We got the Muppet Show.
A lot of Muppet stuff. A lot of Peanuts. A lot of Peanuts too.
Yeah.
So the television stuff, admittedly, we don't. Oh, and Daria. I've got the complete Daria, but I don't.
And the West Wing.
I pointed out the West Wing. They changed the audio for Daria, the soundtrack. They had to for licensing. And it's okay. It's okay. Could be better.
Yeah.
But it's...
They do that a lot on Netflix too.
Yep. Yeah, the Wonder Years. It's totally wrong without that soundtrack.
Yeah.
But Daria kind of holds up even without the soundtrack, where the Wonder Years, to me, less. Yeah. All right, so that's the top shelf. The second shelf is starting on that side, I guess, the right. If I'm facing it, it's my left. Is mostly Criterion Collection for about a third of it. I have a lot of fun Criterion. I have Salo. Don't Google it. Don't even look it up. Paul wanted to see it. Yes. And it took him all weekend to finally go, I want to see it. I'm like, I don't know that I want to show it to you, man. I don't know, man. It's pretty hardcore. Pretty hard to watch. And he was like, no, I want to see it. So I showed it to him. He was like, oh, I get why you're reluctant. But it was really good. It's very well made, but it is hard to watch. It is. Slacker, that's classic Austin. That's Richard Linklater's first film. Mm-hmm. Well, second film, if you don't include You Can't Learn to Read by reading, or You Can't Learn to Farm by reading books, but they include that in the box set. It's a black and white short film. A lot of Kurosawa, a lot of the art house collection. I remember we were buying those because Barnes & Noble used to have a 50% off Criterion sale, and that was about the only way you could get them at anything regarding anything reasonable. So when that would come around, we'd just go nuts and get all the stuff we wanted, though I never did get a copy of Brazil. Following along, the rest of this I do very much in a filmmaker. I tend to get the filmmakers group together, so this is all The Fountain, The Wrestler, Pi, Darren Aronofsky stuff, and then it's all of my Tim Burton stuff. I'm very tired. Tim Burton, Batman, Big Fish, Mars Attacks, Sweeney Todd, Beetlejuice, Corpse Bride, Edward Scissorhands, Nightmare Before Christmas. The good Burton. Frank Capra collection. I love Frank Capra. I love it when things are Capra-esque. Then I've got my Lord of the Rings trilogy, the extended cuts, all of my Dune stuff. Dune, the collector's edition with the bad television cut. Though that's the David Lynch Dunes. Then I've got the Sci-Fi Channel remake and the Sci-Fi Channel miniseries Children of Dune. I love the Dune universe. Then for some reason this seems to be out of order, I've got a documentary called Ringers, which is about the guys who waited in line to see one of the Lord of the Rings. Or at least that was part of it. It was really a documentary about the history of Lord of the Rings. And then we've got the Star Wars stuff, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 is downstairs on Blu-ray. Rogue One's downstairs on Blu-ray. THX 1138, because it is my George Lucas collection, right? So, and then for some reason I've got Star Wait, which is a documentary about the guys who waited in line at the Mann's Chinese Theater for like 6 weeks to see Episode 2. And if you'll remember, Episode 2 is arguably the worst of the Star Wars prequels, and they were very excited when they got to see it, but it's kind of fun. Then I got the Indiana Jones stuff, the good stuff, not that awful new one. And then my Kevin Smith stuff, Chasing Amy, Mallrats, Vulgar, Evening with Kevin Smith 1, 2, and 3, Dogma, Clerks, Clerks 2. Oh wow, I got 2 copies of Dogma. Jersey Girl. I never got Red State. Then I got my Rockies.
I thought we had Red State, but it was downstairs.
No, never got Red State. We saw it on Netflix.
Oh. Then
my Rockies, Rambo. I got all of them, except for like the bad remakes. Though I've got Rocky Balboa. It's awful. Preston Sturgis box set. Then I've got my Tarantinos. I have everything Quentin Tarantino ever made, except the first one, Reservoir Dogs. I don't know why I don't have Reservoir Dogs up here. Then the end of this is kind of my documentaries and my weirdo music stuff. I got some music clinic stuff. I got Henry Rollins spoken word stuff.
Yes.
That's really yours. Some Victor Wooten stuff. My favorite out of that part is Standing in the Shadows of Motown. I think that's a great album. And then when we come down to this shelf and below,
we kind of do it in alphabetical order by...
We generally just group them by letter.
Yeah.
And since the last time we did that, it's all kind of fallen by the wayside. It's kind of all over the place. I have the original Narnia animated, the BBC stuff. That's very cool. I've got every Narnia movie that Disney and then Fox. They did the third one. I keep hoping they'll finish the Narnia series. I'd love to see like the last battle, but there's no way they're going to do it unless they make the previous 6. And the best we've ever gotten is 3, and we've gotten the 3 twice. So I'm down for like an indie Narnia, because isn't it public domain at this point? Maybe not.
Don't know.
There's a lot of cool stuff in here. I have about half of the AFI top 100 movies. So I've got Citizen Kane and all that. Metropolis was probably the first time I got really interested in German noir.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little tough because it's silent, but at this point in my life, I like to sit around and improvise a score to it. Maybe I'll do that one. You know, that's a public domain film. I should probably do that. Just like improvise a score to Metropolis and live stream it for you guys.
Okay.
What else? What stands out to you in our collection? Both versions of Donnie Darko? Cabinet of Dr. Caligari. I really like German Impressionism.
Yeah.
Chinatown was great.
Lawrence of Arabia.
God, that movie is one of those you really have to see it on a large screen.
Yeah.
The scale of it gets lost on a television.
Yeah, no, we have a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And yes, we have actually watched most of these.
Yeah, about most of them. There's a few that are still unopened. This of Unknown Origin. Legend is very good. Legend's an early Tom Cruise, and that's Ridley Scott's second film.
Yeah.
He did that right after Blade Runner. I've got the Blade Runner box set in here somewhere. It's tough when you have a collection like this because people like to come over and they just kind of get lost searching through it.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch Netflix much, you'll know what I'm talking about, where you kind of get lost just perusing the selection,
Mm-hmm.
and then you never really get around to watching anything. Where we kind of went the other way. For some reason, I don't have all my Richard Linklaters grouped together. Like Waking Life is here, Slackers up there. You know.
Yeah.
I have every Fast and the Furious movie. I say that proudly, which everybody in the audience wanted to.
I think the reason Richard Linklater isn't grouped together is because that one's Criterion and this one.
Yeah, that's why.
Not.
Speak up. So, Little Miss Sunshine, Eulogy, that's always a favorite.
Yes.
So then, like, some of them that I've watched a little more often will be behind me here, just kind of, like, shoved back onto a shelf. And looking through that, I have everything Stanley Kubrick's ever done in both DVD and Blu-ray.
Uh-huh. And here we have our Christmas movies.
Yeah, that's our Christmas movies.
Because we pulled them out at Christmas to have on in the background during Christmas dinner and ended up only watching like 2 of them.
This one's kind of fun. This is the Yomega Mania Yo-Yo tutorial DVD. Do all those 90s style tricks.
Yep.
Before Yo-Yo got really, really happening. Behind you is an Alfred Hitchcock box set that's very nice.
Yes.
And
why it's kind of over here by itself, I don't know.
yeah, things kind of get shoved. This general area's been collecting Atari,
And
Coleco, and a lot of cassettes.
Yes.
Over here, I don't know if you can see it, this batch of whites, my Wii games. You know, it kind of becomes a catch-all. I built these shelves. I think there's 4 brackets on each shelf, and it's rock solid. You're not going to be able to take this thing down. But it was a big project. It was a weekend.
It was.
I had to spray all these boards. But I think I only spent, I spent less than $100 putting these shelves up. So
I wouldn't know. I wasn't here when you did it.
I know, you were out of town. It was great. You got home, and there was just shelves.
Yes.
I think it took me a couple weeks to get the DVDs upstairs. It was a process.
I think you made me help with that.
No, I remember Greg and I dragging most of them up.
Okay.
What we do is we take your big suitcase and fill it with DVDs.
What she did with it.
But then once we filled it with DVDs, we could barely lift it up the stairs. So it was like, then we started filling it like halfway. It was a lot of DVDs at once is very heavy.
Yes.
But
I think my favorite one are DVDs.
Oh yeah, the Star Wars box set,
The original trilogy.
on VHS.
Yep.
Though that's the one where Han doesn't shoot first.
Oh really? I thought that was the one where Han shot first.
Nope, I'm pretty sure Lucas.
Lucas got to that one first.
I think so. I'd have to pop it in a player to verify. And I'm kind of down to watch Star Wars on VHS. That's kind of a fun night to me. So that's our. And I got some PS2 games floating in here, some PS1 games. We got a Weird Al box set, Tom Petty. Like, At one point, we had the CDs on a couple of shelves, but then the DVD collection got too big to share the CDs. Now the CDs are on another wall.
Yeah, 95. I think these are the ones Lucas got too.
Yeah. And maybe another episode, I will actually go through my 100 Nintendo games one by one. That'd be fun.
Okay.
And yeah, that's a general overview of our DVD collection. Riddick, we have a mutual love of science fiction, so there's a lot of good science fiction here.
Yeah.
One of my favorite underlooked science fiction is actually Gattaca. I think Gattaca is an excellent film. Mm-hmm. So leave me a comment. Let me know what your favorite DVD is. What your DVD collection looks like, and leave me a comment. Ask me if something's in the collection, and I'll confirm it. Mm-hmm. And all right, let's move on.
Sections.
It's the last one, right?
Yeah.
Everybody gets a trophy?
Yeah.
Go get the trophy. So this section is really only for people who watch the full show. And if you've made it this far, you're really spectacularly awesome.
Are you going to steal my seat?
Oh, there she goes. You're just going to have to stand. Show everybody how pregnant.
I'm very, very pregnant, yes.
She's very pregnant. Well, I guess not even very. You're halfway pregnant.
I'm halfway pregnant.
So you guys get the Hanging In There award for hanging out with us. And if you bought the Best of Freeform Fridays 2016
yes.
on iTunes or on Amazon, or if you've listened to it on Spotify or Pandora or Apple Music, whatever, right? Google Play. Hi, Studio Cat. Good on you and thank you. I want to give you... I'm giving you the Leisure Award because you got to just, hang out today. You got to just chill and relax.
Hang out today. This week was very busy for me, and
I was running up and down stairs, troubleshooting things.
I was running up and down stairs this morning while you were still showering.
That's true. You did get the room set up for me, but I had to spend the day troubleshooting it. That was not your fault.
Okay.
But you get the Leisure Award because you got to take a good few hours really off.
I needed to after this week.
I was kind of surprised I didn't catch you playing Mario Kart. It's a handheld.
I'd forgotten you left it up here.
And when I'm documenting tapes, I just don't have time.
Yep.
I can find a minute or two every now and then, but not enough to play video games. Yep. That's why Steve Albini plays Words with Friends. He finds Words with Friends is helpful. Because that's the sort of thing you don't have to do in real time. And
right.
And it gives him... Because you wind up... When you're working on making records, in the control room there is a few minutes of downtime. Mm. Until something fizzes or hisses or pops or clicks. And then you gotta stop and track that down. Mm-hmm. But when everything's running, it's kind of relaxing.
Yes.
But it's a lot of work to get to that point of relaxing.
Yep.
All right.
And you get the Busy Beaver Award.
The Busy Beaver...
I don't think you actually physically stopped moving at any point today.
And I haven't eaten. You have to feed me after this.
Yes, I do have to feed you after this.
I should explain to everybody... Well, the only people that are watching have hung out this long, so let's give them a tidbit, right?
Okay.
Not quite 10 years ago.
No, it was right after we got married.
So about 9 years ago.
Yeah.
I had to have my gallbladder removed.
Yep.
I had what was called hyperkinetic gallbladder.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, every time I had a fatty meal, my gallbladder tried to turn itself inside out.
Yep.
Just working way too hard. It was really painful. So I had to have my gallbladder removed, which I forget it's got some awful name. Good luck spelling it. Good luck pronouncing it. Something ectomy. And now I have no gallbladder, so it has some digestive side effects.
Yes.
If you want to go into gross details, feel free to Google. if you're unless you have to have it out, I'm not sure I'd opt for it.
Yeah, no. If
you have the beginnings of gallstones, see if you can flush them out before you go have it removed.
Yeah.
Because the side effects of not having a gallbladder means if I eat, especially a heavy meal,
especially a fatty meal,
then I have to stay very close and be able to stop what I'm doing for a few minutes. Not really great in a recording situation, and not great on stage.
Right.
One time I had an emergency on stage and I had to jump off stage mid-tune.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at Tom. I said, "Tom, you got to cover for me." And it was a trio gig, so it was bass and drums for a couple of minutes. And the audience was fine with it, but they weren't really paying attention to us anyway. But that is the side effect of it. So today I had a gig in the morning, and I thought I had a gig in the evening, but I was double booked.
Mm-hmm.
So I just haven't eaten.
And you were recording all day.
It's been... When did I eat yesterday? When did we get home? Maybe 8?
7, 8, somewhere in there.
Yeah, so it's just about midnight. If you call it 8, it's been 28 hours since my last meal.
Yep.
And I feel okay. I feel like I haven't eaten, but...
But we need to get some food in you.
Yeah, I kind of understand how people can fast for Ramadan, though. Mm-hmm. And I believe we have entered Ramadan, or we're getting close.
I thought Ramadan was in summer.
It's off a lunar calendar.
That's true.
1 year it was around Christmas.
That's true.
We had Hanukkah, Ramadan, and Christmas all at the same time 1 year. It was great. It was what I wish the world could come together and do. But yeah, I understand, and I did some religious fasting in college. But it was only for a few days. But if you don't, it can't possibly be good for my blood sugar.
Prolonged fasting is not good for your blood sugar.
Yeah, I can feel that it's low, but I'm very fortunate
but also
that
in the case of, most religious fasting, Ramadan or what is it, Rosh Hashanah or Yom Kippur, one of those two.
Leave a comment. Okay.
I know one of those two they do fasting. I just can't remember which. It's more of a you can't eat during the daylight hours kind of thing.
I thought that was Passover. Anyway, Passover's the big Seder, but they do that after dark. It's fun.
Oh no!
If you haven't been to a Passover Seder, it's a blast.
It's one of the ones in the fall. That's all I remember.
Oh, yeah, and Passover's in the spring.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not Jewish, so leave a comment. Let me know. Anyway, if you're thinking about fasting, make sure don't do it if you have blood sugar issues, and
check with your doctor.
And if you're gonna go 24 hours without eating, be prepared to be kind of this.
Yeah.
And it's kind of why I'm doing this week without the glasses and the jacket. It's like, music seems glamorous. Right? It seems so glamorous on that side of the camera because all you ever get to see is me on stage having a good time. I don't charge to play. I charge to drive out there. I charge to load my stuff up in the car. I charge to take my stuff out of the car and put it on stage. I charge to then take my stuff off the stage and put it back in my car. Mm-hmm. I charge to then drive home, and I charge to unload it from my car back into the house. That's what I'm charging for. The playing is the fun part. Mm-hmm. But I also practiced for 20 years before I could consistently be paid to play.
Yeah.
So, life of it's like that whole thing. Everybody wants to date a musician, except nobody really wants to date a musician.
You want to date a musician when you're not aware of what it entails.
Yeah.
When you're aware of what it entails, you're like, no.
Yeah, it's some seriously long hours. Thursday, I worked the day job, and then I played a little bit, and I got home about midnight.
Yep.
And it's how it goes. The work-life balance is going to be a thing.
Yeah.
But we're going to make it, you just have to deal with whatever situation you have and make it work. But if you're a musician, you get the Hanging in There award. If you're out there actively gigging, let me know.
Yep.
Because it is tough. It's tough scraping by. Gigs don't pay any better than they did in the 70s. And with inflation, it just means it just pays worse and worse every year. It's very hard to make a full living. Josh works hard.
Yeah.
And if you're out there making a living, it's fantastic. Good on you. And I know, I actually know the struggle. The struggle when you're a full-time working musician is ultimately you're frustrated playing other people's music.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the very lucky few get to go play their own music and make a living at it. It usually involves playing other people's material, because people need bands more than they need your songs.
Right.
But for something like Millicent, I think she's going to do better with her songs, but it'll take a longer time to ramp up to her consistently being paid. The way to consistently be paid as a musician is break out your real book and practice.
Mm-hmm.
And be able to do real book stuff. Because if you can hang on that stuff, then you'll be able to you just got to figure out where the community is, make some friends, roll in on some gigs, and it kind of snowballs from there. It was really, once I started doing the real book stuff, did the Jazz Destroyers take off.
Yeah.
And that's not only because of the real book. I mean, obviously I was working a lot harder at booking. We had just gotten, I think we had finished Thoroughly Obscure, which is an album we never put out because it just was okay. It wasn't great.
I liked it, but you didn't.
It would be expensive to release.
Yeah.
It's mostly cover material. So we did that, and that helped us get booking. You have to have some kind of good demo recording.
Right.
Video helps a lot, but yeah, you just have to keep plugging away at it. And don't play the same, especially free shows. Like, the only reason to play a free show is that there's going to be a whole lot of people to see you that don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Go build the fan base with those free shows. But otherwise, like, if you're playing at your local bar for free on a Friday night and it's the same 6 guys,
yeah,
work really hard at making sure that's no longer an option for you. I'm usually too busy to say yes to that kind of gig.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't always make a ton of money at it. Sometimes I don't even make minimum wage. And sometimes I make way better than minimum wage.
Yeah.
So just stick at it. And on that note,